Imagine living every day with the feeling that something is missing. You work hard, follow the rules, but the end of the month always arrives with more bills than solutions. That feeling of frustration, of being stuck in a cycle that never changes, can be suffocating. And yet you see other people seemingly living in abundance, achieving dreams and thriving. Isn't that unfair? Why does it seem so difficult for you, while others seem to sail smoothly towards success? The truth is, many of us were taught to believe that prosperity is something reserved for a few, that it requires luck, privileges, or a secret magic formula. But what if I told you that's not true? What if prosperity was something anyone could achieve as long as they knew how? This idea might seem bold, but great minds like Napoleon Hill, Joseph Murphy, and Rhonda Byrne spent their lives exploring exactly that. The power to transform your reality through thoughts, actions, and strategies. Today, we are going to embark on a unique journey. This is not just another video about finances or personal success. This is a map, a true guide, that when followed, can transform your life. And no, it's not about a generic formula. This map will help you identify the blocks that are sabotaging your prosperity, teach you how to create a clear vision of your goals, and above all, show you how small changes can generate big results. Throughout this journey, you will discover how conscious financial planning can be the key to avoiding waste, and how the subconscious mind can be trained to attract abundance. Inspired by the teachings of thinkers like Ralph Waldo Emerson, who explored the law of compensation, and Eckhart Tolle, who reminds us of the power of the present moment, this video is not just informative, it is transformative. But before we proceed, take a moment to reflect. Why are you here? Maybe you are seeking answers, trying to understand why your efforts do not translate into results. Or maybe you are just curious about what it really means to prosper. Whatever the reason, one thing is certain: you did not arrive here by chance. Throughout this story, we will see how John, a character like you and me, faces the pitfalls of financial life and learns to turn challenges into opportunities. But John's journey is just a mirror. It reflects the choices, mistakes, and lessons that we all face. Before we continue, subscribe now to the Vibrating Prosperity channel. Our goal is to help you find the answers and tools to transform your life. Click the subscription button, activate the bell, and join us on this journey of discoveries and achievements. As John holds the map in his hands, he notices something curious. What seemed like just a piece of paper begins to reveal truths that, in some way, he always knew but had never seen clearly. John looked at the map carefully. At first, it seemed like just an old, worn-out piece of paper, but as he observed it, he noticed it wasn't just a set of directions. Each symbol and word written there had a purpose. At the top, a nearly faded phrase caught his attention. "Wealth is not in what you possess, but in what you build." These words echoed in his mind. He began to understand that for a long time, he had been drifting without a clear plan. He worked hard but never knew where he was going. It was like navigating a vast ocean without a compass. The map seemed to be saying that this was his biggest mistake, not having a plan. The first instruction was clear and profound. Write your vision. John felt the weight of these words. He had always believed that prosperity was something vague and unattainable, but he realized that without concrete goals, he was just surviving. Inspired, he sat down and began to write down his desires. "I want to eliminate my debts in a year. I want to start my own business. I want to have financial freedom." For the first time, he felt he had control over his destiny. This lesson resonated with the words of Napoleon Hill in the classic Think and Grow Rich. A clear goal is the starting point of all success. Hill emphasized that a defined goal and a clear vision were indispensable for achieving wealth. John realized that he had treated his dreams as something distant, not as a strategic plan. The map continued. Break the vision into steps. Turning big dreams into small actions was the next step. Here, John found a new challenge: how to simplify complex problems. He remembered an idea from Joseph Murphy, who in The Power of Your Subconscious Mind said, "When you visualize something clearly, your subconscious mind works to make it a reality." John began to imagine the small steps he could take, creating a plan for each goal. As he progressed, something began to change. Clarity brought hope. He recalled another powerful quote from Earl Nightingale. "We become what we think about, most." Planning his goals made him see opportunities instead of obstacles. Finally, in the lower corner of the map, a message made him reflect. What you don't control controls you. John knew what that meant. It was time to face the habits that sabotaged him: procrastination, disorganization, and impulsive spending. However, he could hardly imagine that the greatest lesson was yet to come. John felt confident after completing the first step. His goals were on paper, but the map still seemed full of enigmas. The next section brought a warning: beware of shortcuts. As he moved forward, he encountered a challenging scene. A smiling merchant offered promises of easy wealth. Invest here and get rich quickly, or buy now and pay later. It was tempting. John remembered his past mistakes, how impulsive decisions had led him to debts and regrets. The map seemed to be speaking directly to him. What seems easy often sinks you. He hesitated, resisted the temptation, and continued his journey. This was a crucial moment. John began to understand what Ralph Waldo Emerson in The Law of Compensation taught. Every choice brings a consequence, and nothing is gained without effort. He realized that the traps of immediate gratification were one of the greatest enemies of prosperity. As he reflected, John recalled another idea from Rhonda Byrne in the book The Secret. The energy you put into the universe returns to you. This made him realize that by feeding a scarcity mindset and seeking quick fixes, he was only reinforcing the lack in his life. Next instruction from the map: prosperity requires control. Here, John saw the need to create healthy financial habits. He remembered Eckhart Tolle, who in The Power of Now teaches that being present is fundamental for making conscious decisions. This motivated him to review his spending and prioritize what truly mattered. As he continued, he noticed another inscription on the map: all that glitters is not gold. It was a reminder that the most valuable things, freedom, security, peace of mind, could not be bought. John began to use logic and discernment as tools to avoid distractions, but as he progressed, he felt that something greater was waiting for him, something that would completely transform his relationship with prosperity. John's path was now clearer, but no less challenging. As he moved forward, he encountered a section of the map marked by lines and arrows crossing in various directions. In the center, a message made him stop. You reap what you sow. These words intrigued him. The map seemed to indicate that prosperity was not just about avoiding mistakes, but about investing efforts in the right direction. He began to recall the times he had expected immediate results, giving up when the fruits did not come in the desired time. John realized that the reward was not a matter of if, but of when. As he walked, he crossed paths with a group of people who seemed lost. One of them complained, "I've done so much and nothing seems to work." Another sighed, "Maybe luck is not on my side." John watched in silence until a wise-looking lady said, "Have you ever stopped to think about what you are putting into the soil? If you plant thorns, do not harvest roses." This idea made him reflect on what Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote in The Law of Compensation. The universe is balanced. What you give to the world, it gives back to you. John understood that consistent work aligned with his goals was the only path to lasting results. True prosperity required patience and continuous action. The map continued, "Give value before asking for return." This instruction brought to mind the teaching of Earl Nightingale, who said, "The secret of success is to serve. The more value you create for others, the more prosperity you attract to yourself." John began to think about how he could apply this. How could he use his skills to positively impact the people around him? However, a part of John still felt doubts. What if the effort was not enough? It was then that he remembered a quote from Wayne Dyer, who said, "You are not what you do, but what is behind what you do." This made him realize that the energy and intention behind his actions were as important as the actions themselves. As he progressed, John began to test these ideas. He decided to help other travelers on the path, sharing advice and tools he found. At first, he did not see immediate results, but something curious happened. He began to feel more motivated and inspired. It was as if by planting generosity, he was cultivating fertile soil for his own journey. Finally, a last message on the map caught his attention. What you build for yourself dies with you. What you build for others lives forever. These words were not just advice, but a call. John understood that prosperity was not just about what he could accumulate, but about what he could leave as a legacy. But there was something more on the horizon. The next section of the map seemed to indicate that the true treasure was still hidden and that it would not be easy to find. John noticed that the next section of the map was different. There were no danger symbols or explicit directions, just a circle in the center with the words, "True wealth begins within." John frowned, not understanding the immediate meaning. But as he continued his journey, he began to realize that this part of the path was less about what he had and more about who he was. Walking on increasingly challenging terrain, John came across an aged mirror leaning against a tree. Looking at his reflection, he noticed something he had never seen before. His tired posture, his weary gaze, and the emotional weight he carried did not match someone in pursuit of prosperity. For the first time, he asked himself, how can I achieve something great if I don't even feel good about myself? This moment brought to mind a quote he had read from Eckhart Tolle in The Power of Now. You will not find peace by rearranging the circumstances of your life, but by realizing who you are at the deepest level. John began to understand that true prosperity required more than financial goals. It needed a balance between mind, body, and spirit. The map reinforced this idea. Your mind creates your reality. John remembered what Joseph Murphy taught about the subconscious. The subconscious mind accepts what you believe as truth and works to transform it into reality. He realized that for years, he had been feeding thoughts of scarcity and unworthiness. It was time to change that. Determined, John began to practice something he had ignored for a long time: gratitude. Inspired by what he read in Rhonda Byrne's The Secret, he wrote down all the good things he already possessed. Every small blessing that once seemed insignificant was now valued. And in doing so, he noticed a change in his energy. His mind began to open up to possibilities that once seemed impossible. Besides the mind, John knew he needed to take care of his body. He remembered a phrase from Dr. Wayne Dyer: take good care of your body, it's the only place you have to live. He began to pay attention to his health, realizing how small choices, like good nutrition and exercise, could transform his energy and disposition. Finally, John realized that the spirit also needed attention. He sat under a tree and closed his eyes. Inspired by the teachings of Abraham Hicks, he practiced visualization, imagining his prosperous life in vivid detail. It was not just about imagining material wealth, but feeling the peace and satisfaction that came with it. When he opened his eyes, something had changed. He felt renewed, as if a new strength was guiding him. But there were still unanswered questions. And more importantly, the map seemed to point to a new challenge, a test that would require all this newfound strength. As John continued his journey, the map revealed a new message. You attract what vibrates in your mind. These words awakened something in him. Throughout his walk, he had noticed subtle changes in himself. However, now he began to understand that his subconscious played a bigger role than he had imagined. As he reflected on this, he remembered something he had read in The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. What you imprint on your subconscious mind with faith will manifest in your reality. John realized that for a long time, he had been feeding thoughts of fear and scarcity, allowing those beliefs to shape his life. It was time to reprogram his mind. The map presented a new instruction: visualize as if it were already real. Inspired by this guidance, John decided to create a daily ritual. He closed his eyes and imagined himself living the life he so desired. He saw himself in a comfortable home with financial tranquility and helping those around him. It wasn't just about imagining. He allowed himself to feel every detail, from joy to gratitude for already having that life. This practice reminded him of the teachings of Abraham Hicks, who said, "Emotion is the engine of manifestation. When you feel abundance before it arrives, it inevitably comes." John began to notice changes in his reality. What once seemed unattainable now appeared as a concrete possibility. But John knew that visualization alone wasn't enough. The map reinforced this. Aligned action strengthens manifestation. He remembered Napoleon Hill, who in Think and Grow Rich stated that the combination of burning desire, unwavering belief, and consistent action was the formula for success. So, John started taking small daily actions that brought him closer to his goals. During one of his meditations, John had a moment of clarity. He remembered something Dr. Joe Dispenza taught about neuroscience. Every time you visualize your future with emotion, you are reprogramming your brain to become that version. He understood that he was literally creating new neural connections, shaping his subconscious to believe that success was inevitable. Gradually, John began to notice something different. Opportunities that had previously seemed invisible began to appear. People, resources, and ideas came into his life unexpectedly. He realized that by aligning his mind, body, and spirit with his goals, he was unlocking a power that had always been within him. However, the next challenge wouldn't be just internal. John knew that to reach his final goal, he would need to face something even bigger, and that would require all the strength he had been cultivating up to this point. John's journey was far from smooth. The map had guided him through paths of self-discovery and learning, but now he faced what seemed to be his greatest challenge. The terrain became rugged, and each step seemed more difficult. The words inscribed on the map were a clear warning. Persistence is the bridge between dream and reality. As he advanced, John was confronted by old doubts and fears. What if all his efforts were in vain? What if, despite all the internal changes, he couldn't achieve his goals? These thoughts consumed him, and he remembered the countless times he had given up in the past. But amidst the confusion, something came to his mind. It was a quote from Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich. "Temporary defeat is not permanent failure. The only failure is quitting." John realized that these moments of difficulty were like tests from the universe, checking how much he really wanted his goal. The map seemed to reinforce this idea with the message, "Every obstacle contains the seed of opportunity." Inspired, John began to see challenges differently. Each difficulty he faced was a chance to grow, to become stronger and more resilient. He remembered Earl Nightingale, who said, "Never give up on a dream just because of the time it will take to accomplish it. The time will pass anyway." As he walked, John encountered an apparently insurmountable wall. He tried to climb it, go around it, but nothing seemed to work. It was then that he remembered something Dr. Joe Dispenza taught. When you face a block, it doesn't mean the path is over. It means you are about to transcend your old reality. With this perspective, John stopped fighting against the wall. Instead, he sat down and reflected. He began to visualize an alternative path, something he had never considered before. And, little by little, he noticed an opening that had previously been invisible. The lesson was clear. Sometimes persistence is not about forcing the way, but about finding new ways to move forward. The map then revealed a final message for this stage. Persistence turns the impossible into the inevitable. John began to apply this mindset in all areas of his life. He knew that setbacks were not signs to give up, but to adjust his approach. Finally, the terrain began to level out, and John felt that he was getting close to his final destination. However, he knew that the greatest lesson was yet to come. Something profound awaited him, something that connected everything he had learned up to that point. John's journey was far from smooth. The map had guided him through paths of self-discovery and learning, but now he faced what seemed to be his greatest challenge. The terrain became rugged, and each step seemed more difficult. The words inscribed on the map were a clear warning. Persistence is the bridge between dream and reality. As he advanced, John was confronted by old doubts and fears. What if all his efforts were in vain? What if, despite all the internal changes, he couldn't achieve his goals? These thoughts consumed him, and he remembered the countless times he had given up in the past. But amidst the confusion, something came to his mind. It was a quote from Napoleon Hill in Think and Grow Rich. "Temporary defeat is not permanent failure. The only failure is quitting." John realized that these moments of difficulty were like tests from the universe, checking how much he really wanted his goal. The map seemed to reinforce this idea with the message, "Every obstacle contains the seed of opportunity." Inspired, John began to see challenges differently. Each difficulty he faced was a chance to grow, to become stronger and more resilient. He remembered Earl Nightingale, who said, "Never give up on a dream, just because of the time it will take. To accomplish it, the time will pass anyway." As he walked, John encountered an apparently insurmountable wall. He tried to climb it, go around it, but nothing seemed to work. It was then that he remembered something Dr. Joe Dispenza taught. When you face a block, it doesn't mean the path is over. It means you are about to transcend your old reality. With this perspective, John stopped fighting against the wall. Instead, he sat down and reflected. He began to visualize an alternative path, something he had never considered before. And, little by little, he noticed an opening that had previously been invisible. The lesson was clear. Sometimes persistence is not about forcing the way, but about finding new ways to move forward. The map then revealed a final message for this stage. Persistence turns the impossible into the inevitable. John began to apply this mindset in all areas of his life. He knew that setbacks were not signs to give up, but to adjust his approach. Finally, the terrain began to level out, and John felt that he was getting close to his final destination. However, he knew that the greatest lesson was yet to come. Something profound awaited him, something that connected everything he had learned up to that point. And you? What is the next step in your journey? What is holding you back from creating the life you deserve? Remember, the true treasure is in your hands, waiting to be discovered. If you felt inspired by this journey, subscribe to the Vibrating Prosperity channel. We are here to help you find your own path to abundance and transform your life. Click the subscribe button, activate the notification bell, and become part of this community of people who believe in the power of transformation. Peace and light to all.